victories, we see defeats. And you know, I like to say it like this: life is like a roller coaster ride. We have ups and downs, and we scream a lot along the way. I saw a card the other day that said this: I found that a nice long hot bath can solve most of life's problems. You open it up and on the inside it says, I've been in here since last Thursday. Somebody can say amen to that right there. You know what, sometimes we're not sure if life is trying to pass us by or if it's trying to run us over. And how many of you can believe we look at the calendar and it is almost the end of September? Where is time going? You know what, folks, I wonder how many of these days are we actually taking to enjoy? See, what I've discovered in life is so many people are just surviving. They're not leading their lives, they're accepting their lives. They're going through the motions just like me. Good intentions, good goals in mind. I know you all have good goals in mind because you're here today. Busy thinking about the things that we have to do every day, but if we are honest with ourselves, we do it with very little enjoyment. So often we're busy thinking of the future, what I got to do tomorrow, what I have to do next week, or we're busy thinking of the past. Man, I wish I wouldn't have made that mistake. I wish I would have made a better decision there. So we have the future pulling at us this way, the past pulling at us this way at the expense of the present moment. We get so wrapped up in doing that we lose sight of being. There's a proverb that says this: a wise person builds their house, but the foolish one tears it down by their own efforts. My question to all of us, myself included today, is what are we doing to build our houses? What are we doing to build our relationships with our spouse, with our children, with our loved ones? What are we doing every single day to be intentional about enjoying the moment? You know what I'm talking about is not based on how big your house is or how much money you have in the bank. I'm not even talking about everything in your life going perfectly, because we all know that's probably not going to happen. I like what Jim Carrey said: I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so that they could see that that is not the answer. Wow. Oprah said, having the best things is no substitute for having the best life. For the next few moments, I want to talk to you about the business of life. Enjoying the moment while you're getting to where you're going. Just so I know I'm in the right place, how many of you want to enjoy your moments? You want to enjoy your journey? You know, experts say this, that your outlook shapes your life more than your life shapes your outlook. Let me say it again. Your outlook shapes your life more than your life shapes your outlook. In other words, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control your response to what happens to you. How do we enjoy our journey? Attitude is everything. There was an elderly man named George, well into his 80s. Every single morning, he went to St. Christopher's Nursing Home at 9:15 to have breakfast with his wife. His wife suffered from Alzheimer's, and she had not recognized her husband in the past 5 years. There was a new nurse who worked at this facility. She watched how George came every single day. Finally, one day, she stopped him and she said, George, you come every single day to have breakfast with your wife, even though she no longer knows who you are? And George patted the nurse on the hand and he smiled real big and he said, she may no longer know who I am, but I still know who she is. See, attitude is everything. The right attitude, folks, can find that one ray of hope in seemingly the worst of situations. It can find that light in the midst of the darkness. And in the very bad, it looks for the good. See, it's not about what you look at that matters. It's all about what you see. In 1981, my mom was 48 years old. Just to give you a brief background, I'm the youngest of the Osteens, and just so you know, I am the favorite child. At this time of the story that I'm telling, all my brothers and sisters were either gone to college or married. My mom had always been very healthy. I'd never seen her sick, and she had this pain in her side, and it persisted for some time, so much so that she decided to go to the doctor to get it checked out. And much to her surprise, the doctors admitted her into the hospital. After many tests done on her, in fact, it was 21 days of extensive tests she spent in the hospital. The doctor came out of the hospital room, looked at my dad straight in the eyes, and he said this: Pastor Osteen, your wife has metastatic cancer of the liver. She has a grapefruit-sized tumor on the inside of her. The cancer is so far spread, so far gone, that there's nothing that we can do for her. Radiation and chemo will not help her. He looked at my dad and said, Pastor, your wife has a few weeks to live. My dad looked back at the doctor and said, Doctor, we believe in miracles. The doctor looked back at Daddy and said, you're going to need a miracle. And my dad, in his 5'7" self, looked back at the doctor and said, we're going to get our miracle. My family is very strong in our faith, and we do believe in miracles. When Daddy brought Mama home from the hospital, honestly, I hardly recognized who she was. My mom is normally 5'2", 100 pounds. I call her the original Polly Pocket. When she came through the door, she looked like she was about 110 years old. She was bent over. She looked so weak. In fact, she looked like death. Her skin was yellow with jaundice, and the whites of her eyes were yellow as a banana, and she weighed 82 pounds. Talking about attitude is everything. Only kid at home. I watched as my mom and dad journeyed back into their bedroom and began the fight of their lives. I saw what they were going to do when bad things happened to good people because my mama was a good person. She didn't deserve that. The very next morning, I decided when I got up for school that I was going to be very quiet and I was just going to let myself out without waking my mom up because my mom was that type of mom that every single school morning, she had me breakfast and she had me a sack lunch. I woke up to the smell of breakfast and I thought, dear God in heaven, it's a miracle. My dad has made breakfast this morning, and that would have been a big miracle. I went to the kitchen and there it was, a full spread of breakfast. I turned to the side just like normal. There was my sack lunch, and I went around the corner and I'll never forget what I saw, just like it was yesterday. I saw my little frail mama looking like death, so sick, so weak, with her back towards me, looking out the window, washing dishes. I said, Mama, what are you doing awake? Why are you up? Mama, you're sick. You need to be in bed. Mama, I got this. Go back to bed. And my little frail, sick mama turned around and her voice got so strong and she said this to me, April, I'm not going to lie in bed like a sick person. I'm going to act like a healed person. Attitude is everything. And I want you to know, folks, that my mom became my hero. Because I saw what she did when life threw her a curveball. She was going to fight this thing through no matter what it took. My mom was very vocal, and she's the type that would go about the house and she would say this, oh, I'm so grateful to see the sunrise today. When she would sit down with dinner with Daddy and me, she would say, I'm so blessed to be able to eat with y'all tonight. When we would be in the car and we would pass by a graveyard, my mom would quickly shout out, I'm so glad to be alive. See, while most folks looked at a graveyard and saw death, Mama looked at a graveyard and was reminded of the life that she still had. Attitude is everything. See, I'm happy to say that the doctors gave her a few weeks to live, but it's been 35 years. She's almost 83 years old, and she's totally cancer-free. See, folks, dwelling on the negative simply contributes to its power. Maybe we should stop focusing on everything that's going wrong in our lives and begin to focus on the things that are going right in our lives. Maybe we should start counting our blessings instead of our burdens. Maybe we should be grateful for the problems that we don't have. Maybe every single day we should begin to search for the positive, even though some days we have to look a little bit harder. Change your attitude and change your life. What else can we do to enjoy our journey? This one's really deep. Are you ready for it? Lighten up. Lighten up. Say it with me. Lighten up. Now say it like you're from Texas. I like that. That sounds good. In other words, let me bring it home to you. We need to stop getting our panties in a ruffle and our boxers in a bunch. Reba McEntire said to succeed in life, we need three things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. We need to remember to laugh. Do you know sometimes we get so busy that we forget to laugh? Do you know laughing 100 times has the same effect on the body as being on an exercise bike for 15 minutes? A daily dose of laughing can burn up to 5 pounds of fat over the course of a year. So you can lose weight here today and get motivated. We need to remember to laugh. You know, you may say, April, there's nothing funny going on in my life. Let me tell you something. You probably got some really good material. You can laugh at yourself. Right? I sent my own daughter, my youngest daughter, a text the other day that said, you're right. Autocorrect changed it to you're ugly. You know what we did? We laughed. I sent my friend a text that said you're the best. Autocorrect changed it to you're the beast. I was in a drive-through line at Starbucks in Dallas, and the guy repeated my order. I said, that's it. He said, great, see you at the window. I was rolling up my window. I said, okay, thank you. Then something else came out of my mouth. I said, thank you. Rolling up the window. I said, love you. I thought, dear Lord, did I just tell the Starbucks guy that I loved him? I was so embarrassed. I wanted out of that line. There was a car in front, car behind, curbs on the side. I was stuck. So I did what any good person would do. I said, God, just take him on out. Just for a break or whatever. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to go up there. I was in a little car, and I felt this presence hovering over the drive-through window. And I looked up. There he was, as big as day, a guy, good-looking guy. I wish my daughters were there in the car with me. Smile as big as Texas, pearly white teeth, and the first thing out of his mouth was this: "So you love me, do you?" I wanted to say, just be quiet and give me my coffee. You know what I said? I finally said, "Thank you, I love everybody," and I sped off. You know what, folks? It's hard to be depressed when you're laughing. There's a proverb that says, "A merry heart does good like a medicine." We need to remember to take a daily dose of laughing. Blessed are those who can laugh at themselves, for they will never cease to be amused. I can say amen to that one. Here's another one. How else can we enjoy our journey? You know what? We can be smart and make wise choices. Be smart, make wise choices. What do I mean? Let me make it practical for you. If you feel like your life is kind of sinking down the drain, everything's spiraling out of control, don't sit down, close the curtains, turn off the light, wrap up in a blanket, and watch Titanic. Be smart, make wise choices. If your relationships aren't going well, don't listen to every bad breakup song that there is. Going down, down, down in a burning ring of fire. Come on, we got to be smart. And listen, don't tell everybody about your problems. Ooh, I think a lady on the back row said a double amen on that one right there. You know what, folks? No matter how bad things are, we can always make them worse. Make wise choices. And watch out who you hang out with. You know, I like to say it like this: don't hang out with the leeches of life, the joy killers, dream stealers, sad makers, life suckers, bubble busters, moment takers, and happy distractors. See, people inspire you or they drain you. Pick them wisely. And listen, surround yourself with people who strengthen your character, and remove yourself from people who make you compromise your character. Become the CEO of your life. Demote, promote, and terminate when necessary. See, remember this: some people are like clouds. When they disappear, it's a brighter day. Make wise choices. And I'm not talking about your spouse right there. Here's another one. This one's really important, and this is just a little bonus one. How else can we enjoy our journey? We can forgive people. See, folks, it's hard to enjoy your day when you have something against someone. Because not only are they controlling your destiny, but they are controlling your present moment. My encouragement to you is to let it go. To move on. Just let it go out of your life. Sing that Frozen song, go out, let it go, whatever that song is, and be free. Forgive people. And remember this: when you forgive, it doesn't make them right. It simply sets you free. How else can we enjoy our journey? This one's so important as well. Be a giver. Be a giver. Help someone else out. My dad used to say, find a need and meet it, find a hurt and heal it. See, we don't need a reason to help other people. And when we are giving to someone else, or when we are helping someone else out, it takes our mind off of our present circumstances. In fact, in all reality, it takes our mind off of us. There was a man who worked in a post office, and his job was to process all of the illegible, the letters that came with illegible handwriting. One day he received a letter. In a shaky handwriting, it said it was addressed to God. He thought, I better open this up and see what it's all about. The letter read like this: Dear God, I'm an 83-year-old widow living on a very small pension. Yesterday, someone stole my purse. It had $100 in it, and it's all the money that I have until my next pension check. Next Sunday is Easter, and I had planned to invite some of my friends over for dinner, but without that money, I have nothing to buy groceries with. God, I have no family to turn to. You are my only hope. Will you please help me? Oh, that postal worker was so touched that he took around that letter to his co-workers. They all, too, were touched in their hearts, and they reached into their pockets or their purses, and they gathered money. Together, they collected $96. They wrapped it in an envelope. They addressed it to the elderly woman, and they sent it off. The atmosphere in that post office totally changed. I mean, it was one filled with joy, such peace and happiness. These people knew they had done something good for someone else, and it changed their whole demeanor. Easter came and went, and a few days after that, they received another letter addressed in a shaky handwriting to God. So they all gathered around, As the letter was read out loud, it said this: Dear God, how can I ever thank you enough for what you did for me? Because of your generosity, I was able to fix a lovely dinner for my friends. We had a very nice day, and I told my friends of your wonderful gift. By the way, there was $4 missing. It was no doubt those thieving bums from the post office. Listen, you may not get credit out here, but you'll always have credit in here. Les Brown says we have 1,440 minutes in every day. That means we have 1,440 opportunities to make a positive impact. Don't ever waste the ability to change someone's life. Make generosity part of your growth strategy. Let me bring it home to you today. You may say, April, I would love to enjoy my journey. I would love to do what you're talking about, but you have no idea what's going on in my life right now. You have no idea the chaos. You have no idea what my situation, my financial situation looks like right now. You know what I can say to you? You're right. I have no idea what's going on in your life right now, but I can say this: you can make what's going on in your life right now either a page in your story or a chapter in your story. Just because it's a bad day doesn't mean that it has to be a bad life. And you know what, folks, the truth is this: you can always find something to be joyful about. Which brings me to my last point. Write down things that bring joy to your life. Write down things that you're grateful for, and I'm saying maybe do this every week. Maybe when you're feeling overwhelmed in life, sit down with a piece of paper and write down the things that bring you joy. I wrote down the list and I wanted to share it with you so you know what I'm talking about. What brings me joy? Early morning, blanket, coffee, and my favorite book. What brings me joy? A clean house and a clean car. And I pray it's that way when I get home in a few hours. Warm, homemade chocolate cake. The right pair of shoes. Shoot, any pair of shoes. Christmas. The perfect pair of boots. Warm, fuzzy socks. A full tank of gas. Red velvet cupcakes from Sprinkles Bakery. What brings me joy? Yummy smelling candles, hot bubble baths, turkey chili, and Fritos on a cold, cold day. What brings me joy? Passing a cop that is hiding and me totally going the speed limit. Some of you so can't write that one down. Listening to Frank Sinatra. Shopping. My Keurig coffee maker, paying for the person behind me without them knowing it. Red Christmas cups at Starbucks. What brings me joy? The sound of rain, the sound of my kids laughing, remembering the sound of my father's voice. What brings me joy? Living in a free country, seeing lives change, to being with you here today, waking up, breathing, getting another chance to see another day. See, folks, so often we look for joy in the extraordinary, when in all reality, it's sprinkled all over your life. It's celebrating what already is right here, right now, all around you. See, the truth is this: life doesn't have to get good for you to start enjoying it. Jim Rohn said you can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. So I'd like to ask you to roll down the window of your life. Where have you parked yourself? If you put it in the wrong place, take it from me. All you have to do is pull up a few feet ahead to where there's life, there's joy, there's peace, there's happy, and there's fulfillment. You know what? The moment you start acting like life is a blessing is the moment it starts feeling like a blessing. Yeah. Make every day your masterpiece. Never get too busy making a living that you forget to make a life. Go home and love on those loved ones. And remember this, folks, we only get one shot at this thing called life. Let's make the most of it. God bless you.